I'm going to talk to you about the need of a third mechanistic descriptor for chronic pain. And first of all, let me thank the organizers for inviting me, Grünenthal for financing my travel, and these are my other disclosures. To put things into context, pain can be regarded as a symptom or as a disease, as you have already heard. Now, chronic pain can definitely be a symptom of tissue damage, inflammation, or lesions and disease to the central nervous system or the peripheral nervous system. But the current understanding of altered nociceptive processing, that is, how our nervous system processes pain information in the pain networks, would suggest that some types of chronic pain, not all, but some types should be regarded as a disease in itself. I would like to compare this to hypertension. So you can have high blood pressure due to kidney disease, and then the high blood pressure is a symptom. But you can also have, as a majority of people with high blood pressure has, a primary hypertension. And this would then translate to the pain field, and the pain as a disease would then be what the ICD-11 would refer to as primary pain. But how would this then translate into the mechanistic descriptors for pain? Well, ISP has currently two mechanistic descriptors, nociceptive and neuropathic pain. And so nociceptive pain is pain that arises from actual or threatened tissue damage in non-neural tissues and is due to the activation of nociceptors. The definition of neuropathic pain is that that is pain caused by a disease or a lesion of the somatosensory nervous system. So clearly, both of these would suggest that pain is a symptom. But what about then the large groups of patients having pain due to altered nociceptive functioning? We lack a mechanistic descriptor, and certainly, in my opinion, that is highly needed. The problems we face today is that large patient groups do not fit into the nociceptive and neuropathic pain conditions. And many of these patients have pain conditions that are characterized by altered nociception. Currently, this leads to homemade terminology: functional, pathological, centralized, dysfunctional, and what have you. These terms are not defined, and it creates a huge amount of confusion. So clearly a revision is needed, and this was recognized by ISP, and a task force was organized. I am chairing this task force, and we have been working for quite a long time now. And the first result of our work is the paper in Pain, where we propose a third mechanistic descriptor. So basically what we propose is to leave nociceptive and neuropathic pain definitions as they are, but to add a third mechanistic descriptor, nociplastic, algopathic, or nothipathic pain. That remains to be decided. And that would be pain that arises from altered nociception despite no clear evidence of actual or threatening tissue damage causing the activation of peripheral nociceptors, or the evidence of a disease or lesion of the somatosensory nervous system causing the pain. Of course, not all patients would fit into these three descriptors, so we still need to have a fourth category, pain of unknown origin. And I'm happy to say that the Journal of Pain informed me that this is one of the 25 most downloaded articles last year. So obviously, this is a subject that attracts a lot of attention and interest, and we are very happy for that, obviously. So why do we need a third mechanistic descriptor? Well, it's needed for large groups of patients with altered nociceptive processing that do not fulfill the criteria for nociceptive or neuropathic pain. That is, patients in whom tissue damage does not explain the pain nor disease or lesions in the nervous system, but who still have a presence of hypersensitivity. So hypersensitivity would then be a sign of altered nociceptive processing. And hypersensitivity has been documented in these groups of patients in many scientific papers. You can see a lot of references. These are just a few of all the references there are, and I included a lot of them because I want to convince you that this is something that is resting on a scientific ground. So hypersensitivity has been documented by quantitative sensory testing. That, of course, relies on a subjective report of the people tested. And basically what that means is that patients in these groups do feel pain from normally non-painful stimuli, and also stimuli that are normally painful are perceived as more painful than what is normal. But it has also been shown using more objective methods, such as sensory evoked potentials, which relies on the electrical signaling in the nervous system, and also functional magnetic resonance imaging, showing that there is altered processing of pain stimuli, and that is augmented. And finally, the signs of altered nociception are often related to pain severity in these patients, which I think is really important. Because if you think about it, in nociceptive pain, the amount of tissue damage is rarely well correlated or associated with the degree of pain the patient reports. And the same goes for neuropathic pain, where you can have, for example, peripheral nerve lesions, that are painful in some people, but not painful in others. So when should we then use this third mechanistic descriptor? Well, it's intended for clinical usage in patients who are presenting with pain and hypersensitivity, and who have clinical and psychophysical findings that suggest altered nociceptive function. And typical such groups would include patients with fibromyalgia, patients with complex regional pain syndrome type 1, other instances of musculoskeletal pain, for example, some cases of non-specific chronic low back pain, and also some functional, today called functional visceral pain disorders, such as irritable bowel syndrome or irritable bladder syndrome. There are some remaining problems that we need to solve, and that is very often patients start up with nociceptive pain, and the constant bombardment of pain information to the nervous system leads to central nervous system changes and peripheral nervous system changes also, in fact, such as central sensitization, disinhibition, that is a failure to normally activate descending pain inhibitory mechanisms, and facilitation, that is that the nervous system actually actively facilitates the pain input and the way of the pain signal from periphery to the brain. And so when should we say that a patient has nociceptive pain, and when does this turn into the nociceplastic or algopathic pain? Certainly, during period, the patient can have both. There's nothing strange with that. A lot of patients have nociceptive and neuropathic pain. Patients can also have nociceptive and nociplastic or algopathic pain, obviously. But we still need to be able to define when the one ends and the other one starts. And so this is actually work in progress in our task force. So we are currently working with positive, clinically useful criteria for the nociplastic algopathic pain. Why would this third mechanistic descriptor be important? Well, it would confer validity on the patient's experience of pain, and it would certainly facilitate communication. It would encourage clinicians to screen for signs of altered nociception, and thus improving diagnosis and treatment. It would facilitate research efforts, establishing treatment guidelines, and develop new treatment strategies. And it could also be useful and have an impact in regulatory issues. And I would like to I would like to end my talk by asking you for some assistance. So one of the issues that we are dealing with in this task force is to decide on the term to use. And right now we have two candidates, nociplastic and allopathic. So I'm going to ask you which one you would think would be more appropriate. So all those voting for nociplastic, would you please raise your hands? Okay, and all those who would be in favor of allopathic?
That's by far the majority.
Okay, I think allopathic won it here. We will see how it ends. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.